All right. Last week, we started a three-part series, and it's called Come to Me. Come to Me. And it's based on Matthew 11:28. And everybody, if you've been around Christianity very long, you've heard Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light, right? Well, it seems like every sermon you ever hear is about the end of that. All who are weary and heavy laden, I will give you rest. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. And all of that is fantastic. However, it's really easy to miss the first three words because the first three words have to happen before any of the rest of that can even attempt to happen. And what were the first three words? Come to me. Come to me. I told the story about Bane, my Belgian Malinois, being at Possum Kingdom down there in Texas a couple of weeks ago, and how he wanted to jump off the top dock to get his little ball, and he wouldn't do it until I'd rode up on a jet ski and hollered at him to, come here, boy. And he did. He came out to me. But it's not just a dog illustration jumping to its master. Jesus is calling to every single one of us. And last week we looked at what does come to me look like? Well, we talked about how when Jesus says come to me, he's not talking about becoming a Baptist. He's not saying come to me and be a Catholic or be a Presbyterian. He's not saying come to a religion. He's saying come to me. I'm a person. I'm a man. And I was fully man and I'm fully God at the same time. Come to me. Right? But where is he? Well, he's not far. He's not far at all. The only time you'll ever be truly separated from the love of God if you continually reject him the rest of your life and refuse to turn your life over to him. And only then will God finally give you what you asked for and let you be separated from him. Otherwise, that's all Jesus does is call us into his presence. That's what being a Christian is all about, is coming into Jesus' presence and living with him. Right? What happens when you get to him? Man, he's going to tell you that all this stuff you've been carrying around and being responsible for and killing yourself over with wrong priorities and all of that, he's going to help you out with it. But not till you come to him. Right? So last week I left you at the deal that I told the story about how on my dad's 75th birthday celebration, a mini family reunion and Father's Day. Everybody's at the lake and we lost power all day long, couldn't get the boats in or anything like that. And the only boat we really had in the water was the jet ski, so I offered to take all the kids out on the jet ski. I took Mason, a 14-year-old girl, out in the first time, and I like to wreck her because you don't get no free pass. If you're on a tube behind me, I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to get settled in, and then I'm going to flip you. You better be sticky if you ride behind me. Well, I flipped her, went out there to get her, had too much going on, and sucked the rope up into the jet ski. So, family reunion, Dad's birthday party, Father's Day, bunch of people ready to lake, and we can't do nothing because Kevin tore up the jet ski. But I told my brother, I said, man, it probably ain't going to be today, but I'll get that jet ski out of the water. If I have to tear that thing all the way apart, I'm going to get that rope out because I messed it up. I'm going to fix it. He goes, okay. So finally, Sunday, I get out there, start working on it. And at 10 o'clock that night, me and my dad and my brother and Jace Ray were still out on that dock, trying to figure out, we had stuff apart. We had it here. We had it there. And I just said, all right, dude. I said, Jason, I don't know, man. I give up. I said, he goes, well, what do you want to do? I said, I'm going to go Google it. So I had to go all the way up to the house where I can get internet. And I walked up there and I Googled it. And I went, oh, no. Oh, no. So I walked back down to the dock And I said, I got good news and I got bad news. And he said, well, what's the bad news? And I said, we tore it up pretty good. And he said, and because I picked it up. You know, it's like in 14 different pieces because it's all wrapped around there. And I picked it up, and it's out of the water, right? He goes, that's the bad news, huh? I said, yeah. He goes, what's the good news? And I said, you see that button on the side right there? Hit that button twice. And he hit the button, and it came right out. We could have done that in the water with me and the 14-year-old girl. But instead, we was without a jet ski for 2 days. Why? Because Kevin and Jason won't read the directions. Now, here's the funny part. When we first started, Jason said, you know, as much as I paid for this thing, there should just be a button that you press and it just shoots it out. And I said, well, that would be nice, wouldn't it? We never got mad. We just laughed about it. Because, you know, you're out there with my dad, with my brother, with my son, in a Texas night working on something together. Man, that's special. That's special. But here's the point. That sometimes things truly are that simple. We just don't go read the instruction manual. And we do things the hard way, and we lose all of this, and we're frustrated, and we do all of this stuff. And sometimes it truly is that simple. Not any different than going and looking at the qualifications that Jesus' instruction manual says that you have to meet before you come to Him. And let me give you the Cliff Notes version. There is no qualifications. His entire message is in 3 words. Come to me. It's that simple. You don't have to do anything to prepare for it. You just have to come to Him knowing that He can change your life. It's as simple as answering Jesus when He says, come to me. But you know, as simple as it is, a lot of times we won't. Why don't we just come to Jesus like He asks us to? And I'm not talking about having a come to Jesus meeting. Those come later. That's after you've already met Him. And listen, just because you did it once a long time ago, maybe it's time to do it again because maybe you've wandered off. Here's some reasons why. Turn with me to Luke chapter 14, verses 15 through 24. Luke 14, 15 through 24. I'll be reading out of the Simplified Cowboy version. This is in verse 15. One of the fellows at the table heard all this and spoke up. It sure would be a blessing to sit down to supper in God's kingdom. Jesus said, a rancher once put on a great big barbecue and he sent out invites to a whole crowd of folks. When everything was ready, he sent his cowboys to tell everyone who'd been invited, come on, it's all ready now. But every last one of them started in with excuses. The first one said, I just bought some land and I need to go look it over. Please have me excused. Another one said, I just bought 5 teams of oxen and I'm headed out to try them. Sorry, please have me excused. And another said, I just got married, so I can't come. And the cowboy rode back and told the rancher all of it, and the rancher was hot. And he said, get to town quick, ride every street and every back alley, and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. And the cowboy came back and said, did what you said, and there's still room at the supper table. And the rancher said, then go out past town. Ride the back roads and the fence lines, and don't take no for an answer. because I want my ranch house full. And I tell you this, not one of the men I first invited will get a taste of my supper. Ow! Man, did you know that all those excuses tend to pile up? And all those excuses we make for not coming to Him, they pile up and they can get in the way between you and Jesus, right? Listen, Jesus is, if you didn't know, Jesus is the rancher, right? The cowboys are us, right? Or me, maybe, right? Ministers, evangelists. We go out and we invite y'all to the supper. Now, what supper is he talking about? The marriage supper in heaven at the Lamb. The marriage supper of the Lamb. That's the supper they're talking about. Jesus said, man, I invited all these people, and they didn't want to come, so I'm going to invite these people, and they do want to come. Right? But there's a time when the supper's going to start and the door's going to be locked. And if you ain't at the table, you ain't ever going to be at the table for eternity. This parable is a warning. Jesus is constantly calling. Listen, he offers the same to everybody. Now, in that deal, in that parable, who was he talking about? The ones that made excuses? Now, technically, those were the religious Jews, right? Those were the religious Jews. And then, when they wouldn't come to him, then he went out to the Gentiles and the lame and the poor, and they all accepted his offer, right? Well, in today, this parable might not be talking to the Jews of the day, but maybe Jesus is talking to the church folks of today. You know, those that just go through the motions. They really haven't come to him. They just have a practice of doing Christian things, not a practice of submitting their entire lives over to Jesus Christ, okay? The difference is not in the offer. He offers the same thing to anybody. The difference is in who responds. The difference is in who responds. Let's look at some of those responses that we will call excuses. Number one, why we won't come to Jesus. Man, Jesus, I'm covered up, man. I'm covered up. In verse 18, it had said, I just bought some land and I need to go look it over. Please have me excused. See, let's just think about Sunday, because that's easier to think about than a life lived 24/7. Because if you can't start with a Sunday, you'll never make it to a Monday. Okay? If you can't give God 1 hour of your morning, you will never give him all of your life. Won't happen. Doesn't work like that. That's like saying I want to become a champion roper, but I'd never have to pick up a rope to do it. Doesn't work like that. I'm covered up. Listen, when we talk about Sundays, you know, we're always so busy, and we've always got other things that seem to be more important, right? But even just on a Sunday, maybe I'm talking to Gen X and older, right? But like, there used to be a time that no restaurants were open on Sunday. Like, they think that Chick-fil-A started that. No, Chick-fil-A is just the only one that still follows it. They didn't invent not being open on Sunday. Okay? Like, we used to sit down as a family, but now we're so busy, right? We used to eat supper at the table with our family, but now it's easier to go eat supper with a bunch of strangers than to make a meal and sit down at your home. Because we're just too busy. We're just too busy. We got stuff to do. We're covered up. Listen, a lot of folks aren't. Listen, I'm going to talk to you as if this applies to you, and if it doesn't, you in your mind, you just say, you don't know me. Okay? You're not covered up, you're drowning. You're not covered up, you are drowning. right? And now we're just not covered up, drowning, and we will continue to do that unless one thing happens. You don't have to turn there, just listen. Matthew 14, 30 and 31. But Pete saw the wind whipping the waves, and the fear got him again, and he started to sink. And he hollered, "Lord, save me." And Jesus reached out and grabbed a hold of him, quick as that, and said, "Your faith wouldn't fill a thimble. Why do you doubt?" Why do you doubt? See, you're covered up. You think you're covered up because you're working so hard and you're providing for your family and this and that and this and that. But really, those things are just keeping you from a deep relationship with God. Because a lot of those things you're covered up with, God says isn't important. So where do you stand? Right? I'm covered up. Listen, be sure that you take an honest look at yourself and decide, are you really that covered up, or are you drowning in your worldly wants and your ambitions? But we have more than one excuse. Let's go to the next one. Man, Jesus says, "Come to me," and we say, "We can't." Man, I got to work. I got to work. And listen, here's the hard part about it. Sometimes we do have to work. Like there's just sometimes that things happen. But if that's the way it is all the time, you might want to take a look at that. In verse 18 again, 19. "I just bought 5 teams of oxen and I'm headed out to try them, so please have me excused." Now listen, cowboys, if you have got so much work that you would rather go farm than come to church or come to Jesus, you are hardcore. Go hook up your team of oxen. That's better than giving your life to Jesus. Right? Don't let work consume you. Let Jesus consume you. And then He'll fill your work. Or you could, you've got to work. Jesus says, "Come to me." And you go, "I would, man, but I got to work." And I think Jesus would say, or you could come sit down with me and let me handle it for a little while. Or you could trust Him just long enough. Like how little of faith do you have in God that He would somehow punish you for worshiping Him? Right? How many? Nobody. God would never do that. Listen, the work will not go anywhere. You could work all day today, and guess what you'll have tomorrow? All day tomorrow. And guess what you'll have after that? All day the next day. Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. The work's not going anywhere. And listen, I don't know how to say this because you have to experience it, but when God's got you, that means He's got all of the things that you were doing as well. Does that not, you understand what I'm saying? When God's got you, He's also got everything else too. He doesn't take you and be like, "Ooh, I left his water running, He's going to be mad." He's got everything. Trust Him a little bit. Trust Him in some of this. Romans 8:32, "If God were willing to give His Son as a sacrifice for you, do you think He would hold other things from you?" He gave the life of His Son for you, and you're scared to trust Him with a little bit of your life? He gave you His only begotten Son so that you could come to Him. But yet, I'm covered up, man. I'm just so busy. I don't have time to read my Bible. Man, I'm so busy I don't even think about praying. man, I want to go to church, but man, I just worked 6 days in a row and I've got all this stuff to do at the house and, I'll just catch up later. Yeah, probably not. Probably not. Listen, this next one's going to sting a little, just so you know. Okay? Why we won't come to Jesus. Number 3. There's something more important than you, Jesus. There's something more important than you, Jesus, in my life. It's found in verse 20. I just got married, so I can't come. Listen, your marriage should start at Christ, number 1, right? Not get married and you can't come now. But this is why it's so important that we understand what our priorities are in life, because the world will tell you, oh, dude, what kind of God would be upset that you just got married and didn't show up to church the next week? No, God's not going to be mad about that. But the part that bothers him is where our priorities lie. And it's not that we hurt him. He knows that we hurt ourselves. We hurt ourselves. Listen, let me rephrase this. What is more important than the only important thing in eternity? What is more important than the only important thing in all of eternity? And it hinges on one thing. Will you give your life to Jesus and follow him in this world like he says to do? Matthew 6:33. Seek his kingdom first and the way of living he calls right, then everything else you need will be taken care of. You're covered up and you're drowning, and Jesus says, if you put your priorities in the right spot, everything else behind it will lay out. It's kind of like y'all heard me say that the first cowboy church sermon I ever heard was about a rope. And the cowboy preacher took just a regular rope and he threw it out on the ground and walked out, and it was in a long line. He goes, this is your life. And then he took the rope and he started trying to push it. And he could get it to go in a way for a little while, but then it would just kind of twirl up, right? And he goes, this is what most of us do trying to get our life straightened out. He said, we're trying to coil the rope up by pushing it on the ground. He goes, that's not the way it works. He said, when your life is in a mess, when you reach the end of your rope, just give it to Jesus and let him lead you, and everything else will go behind you. That was an illustration that I could wrap my mind around. That's what this means. Seek his kingdom first, and the way of living he calls right. Then everything else you need will be taken care of. Okay? And a lot of people say, yeah, but doesn't God want me to be happy? No, not really. He wants you to be holy, not happy, because holiness is the only way to experience pure joy, not a fleeting emotional happiness, right? God doesn't really care if you're happy. He wants you to be holy, because holy is a lot more encompassing than happy ever will be. And listen, God doesn't want your excuses. He just wants you. Before it's too late. Before it's too late. Because see, here's the thing. Once the supper starts, you're either at the supper or you will never be at the supper. You're either at the barbecue or you're not. You're either salt or you're not. You're either light or you're not. You will either be at the barbecue or in the barbecue, if you get my meaning, right? Because at some point, guys, and not a single person that has ever lived or will ever live will ever be immune to the following statement. At some point, you will either be a friend of God forever or an enemy of God forever. In verse 24 of our parable, it says, Jesus says, "And I'll tell you this, not one of the men I first invited will get a taste of my supper." Have you not been following? Have you not been paying attention that all of this is literally life and death? I don't want you to be scared into heaven. I want you to see that everything is available to you. Everything that God ever had plans for your life is with Him. You can't, people say, you want to hear God laugh, tell Him your plans. I'm changing my mind about that. I don't really agree with that anymore because I think God wants to know your plans. He wants you to have a satisfying life that you want. He just wants the reason to be for Him, not for you or anything else. You can do whatever you want to. God says, you choose what to do. Just do it 100% for me. Don't do it for anybody else. And when you do your job 100% for me, I'll take care of a lot of this other stuff. These excuses are the reasons we don't come to Jesus. But if you think about it, they're the reason we're not experiencing Jesus as well. Because you're going to experience the barbecue one way or another. Which reminds me, whenever we didn't have electricity, didn't have a jet ski, didn't have boats, just had each other, we were sitting up under the porch. If you'd like to experience it, just put a fan in front of your stove and climb in on convection and just have a fan blowing on you. It's about what it felt like, but we was all up under there. And all of a sudden, my Aunt Gail turns to me, and she goes, "Hey, Kevin, do you remember whenever you got your eyebrows and your eyelashes blown off at the family reunion?" And I said, "I do not." I said, "Tell me about it." And she did. Next week, whenever you come back. And we will finish up. Come to me, because sometimes, especially right now, it really is that simple. Come to me. What are you waiting on? Let's go to God in prayer. Father, you keep saying come, and we keep making it hard. It's simple, so here we are. Here's everything, God. We give our busyness to you. We give our work to you. And God, we vow today to put you first in all things. Because when we put you first in all things, it helps everything else. And it will get us to you closer, right up next to you, where we will never leave nor forsake you, Jesus, because you made that promise to us first. And it's in Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.